Oh, there it goes. Welcome to the McDonald Observatory, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's total lunar eclipse. So right now here on screen, we do have a live view of the moon through one of our 80 millimeter refracting telescopes. So usually the camera that we use for our other live streams is attached on the 16-inch telescope is attached on this telescope, and it's pointing right now at the moon. So you are seeing a live view of the moon right now. So let's do want to give some other shout outs. We are working with some other observatories to kind of all share each other's live streams. So such as Lowell Observatory, they're helping us out with tonight's stream and we're kind of sharing our views. So depending on who has the live view, we'll switch them around. So but I do want to give a shout out to them. And yeah, maybe a quick little introduction about myself. My name is Saul Rivera. I'm one of the public program specialists here. So basically, I help with the guided tours, star parties, and other similar programs. And with me tonight is my colleague Joe Wheelock.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Wheelock here, and I look funny because I'm using an infrared camera. My laptop camera is not very good, so that's why I look like a ghost. But I'll be helping out tonight. I'll be showing you uh, some pictures with one of my cameras of the area, some pictures of the domes here. We're actually down here in our telescope park for this program. And I'll talk about some other things too, how he can take pictures with different types of cameras. Now, during the program, we do have moderators in the chat that can answer any of your questions, and we'll take in questions too at the end of the program. So, all right, so Saul.
Yeah, so do want to kind of show that we're having pretty nice weather tonight. It was cloudy earlier, but most of the clouds are evaporating. And yeah, it's let's see, we are currently located at the McDonald Observatory, so we're out in far west Texas, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and which give us very nice dark skies. Though with a lunar eclipse like this, you can probably see it anywhere, not even in the middle of the city. Though again, this is a live view of the lunar eclipse, and kind of before we go more into details about the well, what we want to show first is what actually kind of happens with the moon, what causes the eclipse, what causes the movement and stuff. And for that, I have some slides. So before we talk about the eclipse, we need to kind of mention a bit about gravity. So so here we have several little figures scattered about. And now with this, we're going to do a little participations with the chat. So you'll be answering in the chat. So figure number one, the one holding the ball at the top part, number one. If they drop the ball, which direction is the ball going to go? Up, down, left, or right? Let's see if people will answer in the chat. Yeah, so the answer is downwards. Yeah, down. Now let's say the person number two does the same thing. They drop their ball. Is it going to go up, down, left, or right? Yeah, some say exactly. It's going to go towards the Earth. So it's going to go to the right. Now, how about ball person number three? If they drop the ball, is it going to go upwards, downwards, left, or right? Some people saying different ones. Some saying a trick question. The ball hovers. The ball does not hover. That would be really cool, though. Yeah, the ball goes up. So Cav, as it was mentioned earlier, the ball is moving towards the Earth. It's moving towards because the Earth is what has gravity. We drop a thing, and it goes towards the center of the gravity. So for us, it's Earth. No matter where we are, if we let go of the ball, it's going to move towards the Earth. Now let's say there's a giant, just empty tube in the Earth. Basically, you made that hole from one end of the Earth all the way to the other, and you drop the ball. You're going to see it go down the tube, then it's going to come out the other side. Now, but if they're with us with friction, it'll go back in and go back up. It'll just kind of go back and forth throughout the tube. And then finishing off at the center where the gravity is. Now, let's say we have our little stick figure person here. Now they decide to play baseball with that red ball. They hit the red ball, and the ball gets launched and then falls. So the thing that brought it back down to Earth was the gravity. But let's say we hit the ball a little bit harder. It goes further away, then it falls to Earth. Now a bit harder than that. It's moving, then it falls. And each time you hit it harder, it's going to get further and further, wanting to fall until eventually it just makes a full circle. Now, what do we call this full circle that's going around the Earth? An object that just keeps on trying to hit the Earth but keeps on missing would be a good way to describe it. What do we call this? Yeah, it's the orbit. It has its orbit, which so basically the orbit is something that's trying to fall towards the center of gravity but keeps on missing. So for our solar systems, the planet's kind of going towards the sun, and for here on Earth, it's the moon. Yeah, I'm gonna bring back that view back up of the moon. The peak of the eclipse won't arrive for a while. So for another about 23 minutes or so is when we'll reach the very peak of the eclipse. And yeah, so here's the live view of the moon again. And now, next, we're going to talk a bit more about the orbits. How does the moon go around the sun? And Joe will cover that.
Okay, thank you, Saul. So yeah, the moon, of course, it's orbiting the Earth, and it takes about 28 days or so to make one orbit around the Earth. And of course, the moon goes through phases, and I have a graphic to show you of the how of phases of the moon here. In fact, it's actually from our Stardate website, and let me find that here. Let's see here. Let's see, where does it go here? I had it ready to go. Thought I had it here.
Let's see. Oh, I found it. I put it on the slide.
Oh, you have it on the slide? Okay, all right. I've got it here. I can share it okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, I was going to show them something else here that shows the orbit here. Let's try this. All right. Here we go. So here we have, you can see the diagram here, the different phases of the moon. And so right now, of course, we're at full moon. Now, you don't always see a total eclipse, an eclipse of the moon during full moon. That's because the Earth's or the moon's orbit is tilted very slightly, about a 5-degree tilt. So sometimes the Earth's shadow or the shadow will miss us. Other times it won't. Like tonight, we may have a very nice total eclipse of the moon. And in 2 weeks, we will have new moon. So right now, the moon or the Earth is in between the moon and the sun, around with new moon. Now, if it's cloudy where you're trying to view this eclipse, there will be another chance to see an eclipse of the moon. That will be on the morning of November the 8th, coming up later on this year. Yeah, but now that one won't be as well placed. It will happen early in the morning, so it won't be as well placed as our evening eclipse here. And so Okay, so that's some stuff about the phases of the moon. So, Saul, what do you have next here?
Yeah, so next we're going to be talking about really quick is just what actually causes the eclipses. So we saw the phase of the moon. Right now, the moon is not going through all the phases at once. It's going through a total lunar eclipse. So what happens is, as the moon orbits the sun, at a certain point, the as the moon orbits the sun, I mean not orbits the sun, as the moon orbits the Earth, as at certain points at full moon, when the moon is right behind the Earth, everything lines up. So we have the sun, the moon, and then and the Earth in the middle. So the sun's light shining in, the Earth blocks out some of the sun's light, and then casts a shadow on the moon itself, creating this total lunar eclipse. So the moon has to be lined up just right in order for us to see this, in order for this to happen. On the opposite end, if the moon is in front of the Earth and basically between the Earth and the sun, it causes what we call a solar eclipse, a special little shadow that blocks out the sun just right to make it seem extremely dark. So next year in 2023, we are going to have one that's called the Ring of Fire. Basically, the moon's going to block out 99% of the sun's light, so you can see a nice little ring around it. And then 2024, there in April of 2024, there will be a total solar eclipse. So it'll be super cool to actually see that. And kind of speaking of the eclipses, Joe actually has taken pictures of the eclipse.
Yeah, hold on a minute here. Let me find those here for you, Saul. Let's see here. Stop my screen here. Make sure they're all ready to go. I think they got them all ready to go here. My slides. Back up here. Thought I had them ready. Yeah, I've taken many pictures of eclipses, lunar eclipses and solar eclipses and all kinds of things over many, many years. So I want to show you a picture I took, a couple pictures I took of eclipses here. And here is one. Give me a second here. There we go. This is an eclipse that happened last November. I think it was on November the 19th. It was a total lunar eclipse. And I took this picture with a small telescope, a 90 a Celestron 90 telescope. That's the diameter of the telescope. So, and the next, let's see, I thought I had it ready to go here. Here we go. This is one thing you can do is if you take a picture of the eclipse as it progresses, you can make a nice little artistic thing like this. This shows from when the moon, whenever the eclipse begins, and then through the progression of the eclipse. Then, of course, the total phase of the moon in the middle. Now we can measure the brightness of the eclipse of a lunar eclipse. There's a scale that is called the Danjon scale. And let me bring up, I have some information about that scale here. Let's find that here. The Danjon scale. Here it is. Okay. So on the Danjon scale, here it is. A 0 would be a very dark eclipse, and I've seen a couple of those. I remember seeing one when I was a kid, and the reason the eclipse appeared so dark is because there was a volcanic eruption earlier that year, and the moon almost totally disappeared during that eclipse. So 0 is the darkest, and then it goes from 0 to 5. That would be like kind of a very brick red eclipse here. And the one going on right now, it's looking fairly. I'm looking at the moon right now, and it is looking fairly dark, maybe somewhere in the middle. But we'll get to that. We'll check that out later on. So maybe Saul. So maybe we can get some more live views of the eclipse, and I might show them, take some pictures here with my setup of our domes too. And you can see some of our domes here in a minute.
Yeah. So again, for those of you just joining us, we are looking at this lunar eclipse live here at the McDonald Observatory. And as you see, the shell's kind of covering it more and more. And in about 15 minutes or so, it'll reach the peak eclipse. So it'll be completely behind the Earth's shadow. And the telescope we are using is an 80 millimeter refractor. I saw someone ask that. And yeah, just kind of tonight's more about looking at the cool moon and answering questions people have. And what Joe's setting up right now, he's actually going to be showing us how the brightness of the sky is changing as the moon's getting darker and darker. Let's see, but yeah, while we wait, if y'all have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Let's see, here's one from Blogger B. So I'm sorry if this is a stupid question. Why can't we ever see stars around the moon? So first off, I think there are no stupid questions at all. And why we can't see stars around the moon. So you actually usually can't see some stars around the moon. But kind of for this situations and others, the moon is just really bright compared to the stars around it and behind it. So making us not being able to see them. Let's see. Yeah, but thank you for the question. Yeah. Ooh. Venuran cow. Is it gonna be red? So the moon does appear to have a reddish tinge to it when it's fully eclipsed. So it's kind of similar to when we're going into a sun when there's a sunset. The sunlight hitting at different angles. Kind of you go through like the yellows and the oranges and the reds. It's kind of similarly is happening with the moon with its eclipse, causing it to have a reddish tinge to it. And some people you might call it a blood moon because of that.
Okay, so I do have a picture ready.
All right.
So let me fire that up here. Hold on a second. Get rid of that window. Yeah, what I'm going to show you next here is a picture of our domes. And you can see a lot of stars in this picture, which is, even though it's a full moon, we're undergoing an eclipse, so that is why. So let me find that here. And here we go. And let me put this on full screen. And are we seeing this on full screen, Saul?
Now we are.
Okay, good. All right, so what you're seeing here is a view of our domes, our 82-inch or 2.1 meter telescope on the right-hand side, and our 2.7 meter or 107-inch telescope on the left-hand side. And above that, you can see a lot of stars here. The glow you see off to the left, that's actually from the moon right there. And if you look at the top of the screen, you will see kind of a diamond shaped constellation, that grouping of stars. That's actually a constellation called Corvus the Crow, and I never can see a crow in that myself. So I'm using a DSLR Canon camera, and the exposure that I just used. What was that? Let me go out of full screen mode. I forgot what exposure I just used. I thought it was, oh, okay, it was only 15 seconds. Okay, I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 30. So, yeah, so that was a 15-second exposure. And I'm using a wide angle lens, a 15 or an 18 millimeter lens. So we just have a sliver of bright moonlight right now. Moon's looking very red. So, all right, so that's our nice picture here from McDonald Observatory.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Yes, kind of. I see someone mention in the chat. Yeah, so basically, where if you can see the moon tonight, you can see the eclipse. So, cool thing about lunar eclipses, you just need to be able to see the moon to see the eclipse. For a solar eclipse, you do have to be in specific areas to get that solar eclipse. As you can see, more of the moon is disappearing. So, what should be happening in a little bit is once the moon completely disappears, it will kind of almost become visible again. I'm also going to amp up the exposure a little bit so we can see a bit more of it. So you can still see a bit of its outline there.
Yeah, so well, I'm looking at it with a pair of binoculars right now, and it's looking like a pretty dark eclipse.
Yeah, no, even right now with the naked eye, it does look
I know.
really dark. At least darker than any
It
I've seen. Yep, but yeah, it's if y'all have any questions, you're free to submit them in the chat. Also, as you probably can kind of tell, I am being attacked by bugs right now.
Yeah, I've had some bugs over here too. We're
Yeah, yeah, with me having my monitor over here and this webcam that has a flashlight on it, they're just flooding in here.
I think the bugs are more attracted to you than me.
Yeah, you're staying safe right now.
So we've got a sliver of bright moonlight here. The eclipse technically starts at 10:30, so we're a few minutes from that. And so lunar eclipses are very easy to view. Unlike solar eclipses, solar eclipses you have to take special precautions to view them. But lunar eclipses, all you really need are your eyes. You don't need any kind of instruments to view them. So, yeah. So maybe you might up the exposure on your camera to get more of the reddish view.
Yeah, so actually, I think I messed up a bit of the tracking on the telescope here. So I'm going to try to reposition the moon a
Okay.
bit so it's a bit more center, also before the eclipse itself starts.
Yeah, when he said tracking on the telescope, if you want it to, if you want it to get good pictures, you want to have your telescope polar aligned. That means it's parallel with the axis of the Earth, pointing at the North Star, actually the North Celestial Pole. Now, for just wide angle views like an 80 millimeter refractor views, pictures of the moon, pointing at Polaris, that's close enough. That'll get you in the ballpark. What I'm using is a camera. I mentioned using a camera. I'm using my camera. I'm using. It's just on a tripod, and so if you use a tripod mounted camera without any kind of tracking, you are limited to the exposures it can do. So if I went anywhere longer than say, you know, 30 seconds, up to 30 seconds, you notice what are called star trails because of the rotation of the Earth. So yeah, so that's yeah, using just a stationary camera on a tripod is a great way to get started in what we call astrophotography or astro imaging. In the old days, of course, back when I started all this, they were still using photographic film. So I still have a film camera. I don't think I've used it in 15 years, maybe 20 years. I don't know. But I've totally went digital. So that's yeah, great way to start out. So all right. So Saul, what else do you have? Or am I alone? You have anything else, Saul?
Nope, not really much else to
Okay.
add.
All right. Well, let me snap off another picture here. You know, it's snap. Let me see here. I'll snap off another picture.
See, I'm increasing the exposure a bit, so now here you can see actually see a bit of that reddish haze and even some stars in the background. Actually, some stuff we're going to be looking forward to later tonight are what we call occultations. So basically, it's the moon passing in front of some of the stars. So that'll be a cool thing to look forward to. But yeah, now you can see the moon. See, it's almost totally eclipsed, and you can actually make out right underneath the moon the little star. Yeah, so about right there, you can see the star coming in and out of view. Very twinkly right now. Yep, and let's see. So there was a question about what is making the moon look red during a total solar eclipse, and it's the light of the sun passing through Earth's atmosphere. So our atmosphere does scatter light, and that's what actually causes us to have the different colors. So primarily into blue, which is why we have blue sky. Hitting at different angles, you get different colors like reds, oranges, yellows, etc. And kind of with the way the light's passing through Earth's atmosphere, once it gets to the moon, it gives that reddish hue. And yeah, exactly. You can see almost no more light, though. Usually with kind of the eclipses, like once all light completely disappears, then you can see the eclipse very vibrantly.
Okay, Saul, I got another picture ready here.
Ooh, okay. Actually,
Let me find
let's
it.
yeah, actually let's maybe wait a bit since we're almost at that total
Okay,
eclipse.
that's fine. That's just fine with me. So
Yeah. Ooh, now see, like even though it's getting like that just sliver of moonlight is left.
you know what I could do is swing my camera over and get a picture, a really wide angle picture with the moon.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Let me
Yeah.
try that. So
Also, right now, I just also increased the exposure as well. It's about
there we go. I
36
can see that on the
milliseconds.
screen. Yeah, let me swing my camera over because I want to get a picture of this too. So you're going to hear me making some noise here in the background, and the ghost image of me will be moving around. So stand by.
Ooh, that's a really good question from Arlie Turner. Does the surface of the moon get colder during the eclipse? Ah, that is a very good question. If it does, it probably wouldn't be that much. Though once Joe gets his stuff set up, maybe he'll know. Oh, we're basically 1 minute away from the total eclipse. You can only see a little bitty sliver left. Basically, about 30 seconds left until it's peak eclipse time. See, Cal's doing a countdown at this point. 10 seconds left. 5 left. As you see, the that's last sliver is disappearing. Yep, and we're basically at peak eclipse almost, just except for that little bitty sliver of light.
Beginning of the eclipse here.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. That's. Forgive me, I'm commenting to myself. I'm looking at my picture I just took. Uh, looks okay. I'm going to lower. I'm lowering my exposure a bit here. So
Yeah, and also I kind of misspoke. This isn't the peak, but it's the totality of the eclipse.
it's the yeah. Actually, Saul's the beginning of totality.
Yeah, the beginning of totality. And yeah, here
That's
we are,
right.
the total lunar eclipse. Wow, that looks really nice. Now
Yeah, I've
here it
seen
just looks so dark.
many eclipses over the years. This isn't the darkest I've seen, but it's not bad. Let's see here. All right, so I have a wide angle picture ready. If
All right.
you want to see that, let me get it here. So that's your Saul's picture is close up, and of course mine will be wide angle. So give me a minute here, and I will find my picture. There we go. Here we go. And let's put that on full screen. And are we seeing that, Saul?
And now we are.
All right, so there's a tiny moon compared to what Saul is showing you. That's because we're using a very wide angle lens, looking at a much larger area of the sky. The telescope that Saul is using, it looks at a much smaller area of the sky. And now below the moon, we can see some fairly bright stars. I believe those were some stars of the constellation of Scorpius. I believe here. Okay, yeah, Scorpius coming up. So again, during a full moon, I mean, you cannot see dark skies like this. So it's possible some of our astronomers here doing research with their telescopes, they might be timing some critical, maybe perhaps some research with the telescopes during this eclipse to take advantage of a brief window of dark skies during full moon here. So yeah, so skies are very nice and dark here right now during this
Yeah.
eclipse. So
Yeah.
all
Oh,
right,
yeah. So also we have amped up the exposure a bit on the moon view, so you can now see more of that reddish orangish tinge going on.
so I'll get rid of my view here.
And some of the other stars nearby. Also, there are also some kind of dead pixels here. So it's like the ones like this one here and the bright blue one at the bottom. Those are not weirdly colored stars. There's just a camera. And speaking of the camera, I saw someone ask what camera we're using. So it'll later be updated in the description. But the camera we're using is a ZWO AS 1071 MC Pro. And again, for those of you just joining us, this is a live view of the total lunar eclipse. Yeah, wow, it's really cool.
I'm just going to keep it focused in that area, Saul,
All right.
because I yeah.
Yeah, and kind of to help us pass the time of this really cool view of the eclipse, we actually do have a little guest that once that's going to jump on in. See, it seems they're getting set up. And we're ready. Yeah, and my colleague Martinique Pautsky. Hello.
Hello. I got it. Hello everyone. Gosh, look at that. I just stepped out on the deck and that's just what it looks like. I'm just delighted here. I was just lucky enough to jump in and spread a little K-12 department cheer on y'all. I work with the McDonald Observatory education program, and we do virtual programs in classrooms, like virtual telescope tours. And we talk about solar and moon systems just a few weeks ago. And we do on site field trips with classrooms that come all the way across the state or beyond to visit. And we also have some summer workshops. Some will be virtual this year, so you can check out our website to get involved in those if you know a teacher that needs professional development hours. We do have on-site programs that we host, but the deadline has well passed for that. So look for that. I think in December is when you can start applying for next year's round. We put you all up on the mountain and show you our skies for a few nights. It's just fantastic. And if you love us enough, honestly, we're looking for more people that are as awesome as Joe and Saul. So if you want to live and work out here, you should check out our website for that too. But you both, just Joe, Saul, you guys have both done some field trips this year. Do the kids seem excited and inspired when they're here?
Oh yeah,
Definitely, yes.
yeah. The kids have a really fun time because they get to come out here, get to check out the research telescopes, and learn more about how they work. And there's actually been some of the few times where they end up being here while the engineers are at work on the telescope, and they can ask the engineers questions directly about how the telescopes work.
Yeah, that's first-hand experience there, right underneath the telescope, talking to an engineer. It's awesome. So if y'all know any teachers, send them our way because we got some cool stuff going on here. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thank you, Marnique.
Hey, thanks, Marnique.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, so thank you, Marnique, for that cool plug-in about K-12 programs. We do many of those programs. We're always looking, as she mentioned, for people to come out and enjoy them. We also even do some virtual ones every now and then. And you can find out usually more about this on our website, McDonaldobservatory.org. And yeah, for those of you just joining in, this is a live view of the moon. And actually, a question came in. Let's see. Ooh, so actually, one of my colleagues, Shannon, just gave a cool thing. So this star to the bottom right of the moon is actually about to go behind the moon in a couple of minutes. So we're going to zoom in a bit on that. Oh, moved too much out of the frame of view. Ooh, we're just going to keep an eye on this star right underneath the moon. Yeah, and actually a question came in from Diana Dillon. So awesome eclipse. May I ask what type of camera would you recommend for beginning astrophotography? Joe, go
Yeah,
with you.
sorry. I was busy snapping off some more pictures here. Sure, yeah, definitely. Uh, yeah, the good beginning cameras, there are different brands, and the modern cameras are called the DSLR cameras. And the different brands, there's Canon and there's Nikon. Those are the two big contenders, and they all do a pretty good. Both of them do a very good job. Myself, I'm partial to Canon because I use Canon cameras. I have a couple of those, and those are great beginner DSLR cameras. And you can actually pick up one that's maybe several years old, a good used one, for just a few $100s or so. And there can be a learning curve to those, but yeah, that's they're really great. Also, I've noticed too over the last few years, there are some modern cell phones that can take really good pictures. So my cell phone's not that great, so mine doesn't take good pictures, but some of the more modern ones, they can. So yeah, DSLR cameras are what I recommend.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Oh, there we see there we can actually now see the star like getting to the very edge of the moon. Ooh, this is really cool. Let's see, we usually call this occultation. Just when the view kind of like something goes behind something else. Like in this case, a star going behind the moon. Ooh, and a question from Bill Dingus. So, what would Earth look like from the vantage point of the moon now? Ooh, that's a very good question. Do you by chance know, Joe?
You would be seeing an eclipse, I believe, of the sun,
Oh, yeah.
if I've got my stuff right.
Oh, and the stars are gone now. The moon has eaten the star. No, not really. It's just it's gonna peek back out in a little bit. Oh, I saw a question slash request from Jose Lerma. Can you give us a Pluto fact? So yeah, so cool fact about Pluto is that so if you're wondering if Pluto is a planet or not, Pluto is not a planet anymore. It's what we consider a dwarf planet. So part of the reason this happened was basically there's an astronomer trying to look past Pluto, saying we could find something else that's like Pluto, another planet like Pluto. And he's like, he found one. He's like, cool. And then he found another one, and another one, and another one. I just found a whole field of them. And then the question came up. The question came up: is Pluto a planet, or is it something completely different? So there are several things that kind of you can say kicked Pluto out of being a full-fledged planet. Some people were arguing that Pluto should be a planet based on size alone. But if you count Pluto as a planet based only on its size, you basically add an extra 130 extra planets to the solar system, and astronomers do not have time for that. Another thing that kicked Pluto, or kind of questioned where Pluto was in terms of planets, is its orbit. So planets form on the same plane of orbit. That's just kind of how solar systems form. So planets usually stay like this, but Pluto's orbit is kind of crooked compared to the others. It actually cuts through Neptune's orbit. So what? So then, some astronomers even wondered this blew like a really weird comet that got caught in our solar system. But basically, the end thing that occurred was Pluto had more things in common with the things outside of our solar system, those other new things past Pluto, than the own planets in our own solar system. So it's just an error of categorization. We categorized Pluto wrong all these years. Last time that happened was about 250 years ago. Some astronomers thought, a lot of astronomers thought asteroids were planets until they found things like the asteroid belt. Yeah, thank you. Good question. Yeah, so you just see me like swallowing stuff every now and then. It's just I'm being bombarded by bugs. Oh my
They're not bad over here.
god. Oh, there are so many here. There's already like, let's see, there's 3 on this screen, 2 on the camera, like 3 on my keyboard. I feel 1 or 2 round key, 1 on my face, and several around on the table. But yeah, for those of you just showing us, we're looking at the total lunar eclipse here from live from the McDonald Observatory. We have a camera attached to an 80mm refracting telescope, letting us get these views. And right now, the exposure we have is about 294 milliseconds, letting us get this nice, cool color and stars around the field of view. And yeah, so while we enjoy this, we're kind of doing any questions you might have, like random space questions. Yeah, so if you have any questions you want to ask about the observatory or space or the moon, feel free to. Ah,
Bug?
yep, a bug.
Yeah, what I'm doing now is I'm getting a I switched to a little bit of a closer or a, a different focal length on my camera. I'm trying to get some things focused here. So
Yeah. Ooh, what? Let's see. Why does the moon turn red? Yeah, so we've been getting that question a bit tonight. So the reason the moon turns red is because the light from the sun is going through the Earth's atmosphere. So the way a lunar eclipse is set up is the Earth is between the sun and the moon, and then sun's light goes through the Earth's atmosphere and kind of casts a shadow on the moon. Now the sun does produce, well, a lot of light, so it doesn't completely block it out. But instead, kind of, as the light goes through the atmosphere, gives it a reddish tinge. And ooh, one from CC. Hi, CC. Is there a difference between peak and totality? Ooh, do you want to answer that one, Joe?
between peak and totality,
Yeah,
I've never heard it called peak. I
yeah.
guess it would be perhaps you could say the well. I guess you could say the peak or the well. A more common term would be the I guess you could say the maximum of the eclipse. So
All right, thank you. Yeah, it might have been due to me referring it to as a peak instead of the totality.
right.
Yeah. Oh, another question. Why is this eclipse so dark? Is there a reason why some lunar eclipses, are darker than others?
Yes, there is. Sometimes there could be perhaps a lot of particulates in the atmosphere, perhaps from a volcanic eruption, maybe. Like I said earlier, I saw an eclipse where it was very dark because of a volcanic eruption that scattered lots of dust in the atmosphere. So this one, so far to me, it's moderately dark. It's not the darkest, but it's that one side of the moon's very dark. So that's interesting.
Yeah, almost like a little uneven eclipse.
I've got a wide angle picture here ready, Saul, if anybody wants to see that.
Ooh. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's find it. Let's go here. Let's go for it. So here's the close-up view that Saul has there. And let me hold on a minute. Find my wide angle view. Now, one thing I want to mention here when I show you this, I've got it focused the best I can. So, got that up on full screen there, Saul?
Yep.
All right. So, one thing about if you're taking pictures with cameras, DSLR cameras, or any kind of cameras, it's tricky to get a good focus if you're just looking at the tiny, tiny screen on the back of them. So, what I'm doing is actually have my camera attached to my laptop, and I'm using an app to control my camera. So what I do is I can focus on a bright star or something like the moon too, take a few test shots, get a nice good focus, and then go from there. So your focus can change too. Maybe due to temperatures. Temperatures fluctuate. That could cause things to expand and contract, and thus changing your focus. So here we have a nice picture here of, you can see the moon with lots of stars around it here in this picture right there. And I'm seeing lots of stars right now here, just looking around. Yeah, so we have perfect weather tonight for the eclipse. Some early forecasts showed us having some clouds, and I was kind of biting my nails earlier this week about that, thinking, oh great, what am I going to do now? So but it's cleared off nicely. So there we go. Nice wide angle view of the moon here. All right, Saul. Oh, Saul's readjusting the telescope. So, okay. Now let's go back here. And, oh, you can see all my stuff there. There we go. So now you're seeing me, the ghost me. But so Saul's readjusting his telescope. So I think he mentioned that he didn't quite get it polar aligned properly, like I mentioned earlier. So, but yeah, so we'll have another view, another close-up view of the moon here in just a few minutes, in just a little bit. So I'm looking. There we go. I see him moving around over there. We're not far away from each other. He's I don't know what, 40 or 50 feet away from me, something like that. He's next to one of our telescope domes here in the telescope park. I'm a little further out. So, all right. I see the moon on his screen over there, so he's getting it centered. So we're going to have a very close-up view of the moon here in just a minute. Is there anything unique? Who asked that? Let's see here. I see that here.
Yeah, let me also turn off your fellowship.
Caitlin Bennett, yeah. Is there anything unique about this lunar eclipse? Well, I mean, all the, I guess you could say, no eclipse, no eclipse is the same. But as far as anything being unique about it, I would say it's your typical total lunar eclipse. And what's good is it's well placed for viewing in the evening sky. You don't have to get up, at some, early morning hour to see the eclipse. I think we might have some people hanging out in our parking lot tonight. I'm hearing some noises, some vehicles or something. So they might be enjoying the eclipse from our parking lot if you hear any rumbling. So, all right.
Yeah, so kind of earlier, we were kind of talking about how bright some of the areas seem brighter than the others. Also, by the way, speaking of brightness, I did increase the exposure, so now you can see a bunch of the stars are surrounding the moon currently. The star field behind the moon, better yet. And see, so well, a colleague of ours, Shannon, actually chimed in with why some of the parts are brighter than the other. So the southern hemisphere, so Tycho, is closer to the kind of the margin, so it's slightly brighter, while the northern hemisphere is closer to the central eclipse track. So that causes the change in brightness. Let's see. Yep, let's see what other questions come in. Ooh, when will the next full lunar eclipse be?
November the 8th.
Nice. So we got enough. You got enough
Early
time.
morning. I don't know the exact time, but I know it's after midnight, sometime early in the morning. So that's why this one is special. It's not special, but nice, because it's not too late. So people can enjoy it easily.
Ooh, so question from Jonathan Walker. Is this also happening during the supermoon? If so, then I assume less of the moon will catch red light bent from the Earth, right or wrong? Do you by chance have a stance on this one, Joe?
What was the question?
About if this is happening during a supermoon. So if this eclipse right now is a supermoon, and if so, would less of the moon catch red light bent from the Earth?
Would less of the moon catch red light? Okay.
Yeah, the question is also on the screen.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm not really sure. I've never been asked that question, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, we'll try to look into that.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I really don't know about that. You got me on that one.
Yep.
I wasn't prepared for that one. I didn't. Maybe I didn't study hard enough for the test.
Ooh, here's one for you, Joe.
Uh-oh. Okay, what is it? Let's
Joe, how
see.
would you rate the color and brightness of this one compared to previous eclipses you've seen? From Frank to hey, hey Frank, Frank Texas to OHC. Oh, it's nice for you to join us, Frank.
Hey, Frank. Well, let's see here, Frank. It would be. Let me look at my scale here. It's kind of a moderately dark eclipse. Let me find my. I have a thing up here. Let's see here. Let's read this off here. Give me a second here. Deep red. It's bright. Yes, it's pretty dark. Eclipse is not gray. It's pretty dark here. I'm gonna have to go with. It may be somewhere in between a 1 and a 2 on the Danjon scale. Maybe we could say 1.5. How's that? That's just my guess.
Yeah. Oh, since there are more people joining in, do you want to show the scale again, Joe? That way, for those who might be wondering what we mean by like a 1 and a 2.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sure. Okay. Yeah, stand by here. Let me find that. Yeah, it's called the Danjon scale. And can you see that on the screen here?
Now they can.
Yeah. So 0 is the darkest. L equals 0 is a very dark eclipse. Then you have a dark eclipse where you have kind of a gray or brownish coloration. Then 2 would be a deep red or colored eclipse. Then 3 would be a brick red eclipse. And this one, well, I don't know. It may be a 2. Maybe a 2. And then 4 is a very bright eclipse. It can be a copper orangish color. So this could be a 2. Sometimes they're hard to judge. So, but yeah, so that's how we measure eclipse brightnesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Frank, and the info, Joe.
Yeah, I'm covering up my monitor here or my laptop to get a good look at the eclipse. And it's to me it looks there's one side that looks a lot darker than the other one, and obviously you can see that on the screen. So yeah, one side's a lot darker. So I'm gonna adjust my camera because I've got Scorpius right below the moon. I'm gonna go to my wide angle lens here in a minute and try to get a shot of the moon and Scorpius coming up. So let me do that so you're going to hear some moving around while I do that. Or maybe I'll just remove myself.
All right. While Joe looks into that, let's see what questions have come in. Ooh, so here's one from Donna Barnes. Please explain what a supermoon is. So a supermoon is a full moon or a new moon that is basically at the closest point that the moon is to the Earth, making them appear just a tad bigger than usual. And that's usually known as the supermoon. Yes, it's just a moon being a full moon or new moon that's a tad closer at to us than we might see it otherwise. Thank you for the question. Let's see, ooh, from Elephant Rider 72. What are the names of the stars in the field of in the view? I sadly do not know. They all do probably have names, but I do not know their names. And also with a bright light from my webcam, it kind of blocks out a lot of the constellations I could be seeing right now. Remember, light pollution. Point the lights downwards, not towards your face. Ooh, and actually we can see that there's a star kind of going behind the moon again. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. Now I can see star right there going through. Yeah, it's just like approaching its little edge. It's really cool. Yeah, so let's see. So when will this lunar eclipse end? So for those in Central Time, the eclipse started at about 10:30 and will last to about midnight. Let's see. Other questions are coming in. Yep, let's see. Ooh, from Julie Valdez. A solar eclipse is in time a relatively short event. How long on average does a lunar eclipse last? So a lunar eclipse actually usually lasts a good while, usually a few hours. But the peak of it, or let me rephrase it. Sorry, the totality of the eclipse can last about 30 minutes to about an hour or so, usually on average. This one's gonna last a bit longer than that, about an hour and a half. If I'm remembering the numbers right. Thank you for that question. Let's see, ooh, the question of if is that a lunar satellite at 10 o'clock? So what you see kind of near just grazing the edge of the moon is another star. Star is a star that's kind of currently going a bit towards behind the moon. And also, if you're wondering what some of these other things is, like these green dots and such, those are just pixels of the camera.
Okay, Saul, I've got another picture here. I've got a nice wide angle picture of the moon, the total eclipse of the moon, along with Scorpius.
Ooh,
So
okay.
not all of Scorpius, but you can see Scorpius, the scorpion. You can see the bright the well, you'll see it here. So yeah. So let me find that here. Fire that up. And oops, hold on. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, so while Joe gets that set up, for those of you just joining us, we're currently looking at the total lunar eclipse live from McDonald Observatory.
Okay.
We
Alrighty, Saul.
Oh, okay, nice.
So here we have the moon of the Scorpius. Very tiny moon.
Ooh, so actually, wait, let's before we show that. So we're being told to go back to the full view of the moon. That we'll put yours up in a bit.
That's fine. No rush.
Yeah, right now, and again, if you see like lights around the moon, those are mostly stars around the moon in the field of view. And the one kind of like at 10 o'clock ish is a very bright one there.
Oh, an occultation?
Yes, a very nice one. And occultation is basically uh, the star going behind something. Like in this case, the star going behind the moon. That's a very nice view. Let's make that full screen. Yeah, so what we're looking for, so for those of you that were with us earlier, you saw a star go behind the moon, kind of around here. Now it's actually going to pop back up in a little bit. Along up here. So now now we're going to see it kind of break out of its lunar shell. Yeah, so this is going to be really cool to see it poke back out.
Is that to the upper left there, Saul?
That one isn't it, actually. That's just a star that's calved there grazing the edge.
Okay.
The other one will be peeking out soon.
Which side?
Around the end of the left side, probably kind of close to that star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, no, actually, wrong side. It's about 3 o'clock is where it will appear.
Oh. Okay.
Also, our image is kind of slightly tilted. So someone was asking about that from the JCC 7474 that in San Antonio, Texas, appears a dark area of the moon is on a different side. So part of the reason that's different has to do, on our view, has to do with the camera orientation and the way the camera itself is flipped. So in the orientation, ooh, there it is. You can see the star poking out.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Wow.
It's really bright.
Yeah, that is bright.
Let's zoom in on that a little bit.
Thank you, Shannon, for pointing that out to us.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon.
Earlier today, yes. Yeah, it's been many, many years since I've seen an occultation. And what's really neat sometimes is to see the moon occult a planet like Saturn or Jupiter. I've seen those a couple of times, and that's really surreal to see the moon, and then all of a sudden you see Saturn emerging from behind the moon.
Yeah, almost sounds like in the sci-fi movies when it's just like peeking out like the giant spaceship. That ain't no moon.
That's no moon. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you just joining us, the total lunar eclipse we are watching the total lunar eclipse from the McDonald Observatory, and this is live. We are currently in the totality. So here in Central Time Zone, the totality started about 10:30 and will last till about midnight. So also some other telescopes and observatories are looking at this as well, including Lowell Observatory. We were working with them, partnering with them for this awesome event. Yeah, I want to give a thanks to them, a shout out to them.
And so I've got a wide angle picture ready if you want to bring that up.
Okay. Let's see.
The one I took a couple minutes ago, right before the occultation. You seeing it?
Yep, it's on full screen.
Okay. And so we can see the moon. Looks like a tiny moon because I'm using again a wide angle lens. And you can see Scorpius there peeking above the horizon. To the upper left of your screen, as a something, probably a satellite, that long streak. So, and to the lower right, I can actually see the dome of our 2.7 meter telescope, Harlan J. Smith telescope. I didn't. I was just framing on the moon and just accidentally caught the dome. So, yeah, so it's dark now. This is about. It's not as dark as it would be, without a moon at all, but it's still pretty dark for a full moon night. So, all right, I'm going to try another picture here. So I'll let Saul take over and talk about some other stuff.
All right. Yeah, here we have back our live view of the moon. Let's see. Actually, kind of really quick, I want to show Lowell's Observatory's view of the moon. So they actually were able to see it a bit earlier today, and I want to show off the view from their cameras. I did sadly miss their link a bit ago, so this is not a totally live view, but I do want to show their live view of the moon. Let's see. Whoop. That's a lot of full screen on me. See, I'll pull up this picture as well, so I'm not taking up the entire field of view. I bring that into view. So I'm being attacked by the bugs right now. And here we go. This was the live view from Lowell Observatory. So they're an observatory from Flagstaff, Arizona. That's we have been partnering with for this cool event. And it was the live views that they were able to get from their telescope. As you can see, even being somewhere completely different states away, we're still seeing some of the similar things, some of the similar features, that kind of orangish tinge, and some of the darker areas. Yeah, and sadly they have had some few clouds today, but they still got some really cool views of the moon for tonight. Ooh, that's a really cool view. Yeah, but while we're enjoying that cool view, let's see. Ooh, a question came in. Is a view affected by smoke from wildfires? So sometimes that smoke can affect the views of the moon and other stuff, but not sure if these current views are affected by it. So here from Lowell's Observatory, you can see the clouds going across the surface. That also helps you know that yes, the moon is very far away. And there are clouds between it and us. And it actually looks really cool. Just the clouds going across the lunar eclipse. Yep. Let me switch over to. So now that let's see. Let's switch over to back to our live view. Again, thanks to Lowell for helping us out, for partnering us with for this cool event. Here's our view again. Was I saw someone say the common more burnt orange than blood red. That's good for us at the McDonald Observatory because UT Hookham, the moon is seems to be a UT alumni. At least right now it is. May switch later on. And for those of you just joining us right now, we are looking at the total lunar eclipse here at live from McDonald Observatory. So we are currently in totality, so the moon is completely behind Earth's shadow. Here at Central Time, it started about 10:30 p.m. and will be going till about midnight. And yeah, as for right now, basically, if you can see the moon, you'll be able to see the eclipse. So depending on the time zone you're in, well, the time that you're seeing it will change. Let's see some other questions coming in. Oh, so a question from oh, clicking the wrong one. Oh, cool. Let's see. How are we able to see stars that wasn't in the other view from Lowell Observatory? So with us, one thing that we did is kind of also, as you saw Lowell's video, it was a very nice smooth scene, smooth transitions. With us, we have some pretty high exposures going on, which lets us see the background stars. Downside of it, as the night goes on, and if the moon moves across the sky, you can actually see it kind of jittering across. So smoother views. So it's like smoother views, and they'll sing background stuff. You always gotta choose with astronomy. Yeah, what are two stars around the edge of the moon? I sadly do not know. Let me center that. Yeah, also, again, for those of you just joining us, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. It can either be about the moon, random space questions, whatever you'd prefer.
Okay, so well, I've got another kind of wide angle picture of the moon ready here.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to see it,
All right.
I'll
Yeah, you.
fire that up here. Give me a second. And this is just using a camera, stationary DSLR camera mounted on a tripod. And for you technical people, the exposure is 5 seconds at ISO 3200. So fire that up there, Saul.
All right, it's up.
So just a wide angle view. Yeah, this is a pretty dark eclipse. Not the darkest, but dark enough. So you said Lowell Observatory, they had clouds?
Yep, they had some clouds here and there. So actually, in the live view I showed, you could see some of the clouds going
Okay.
across.
I didn't see that because I was busy. So.
Yeah, we had clouds earlier, but thankfully they cleared up just in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
So let's go back to our live view. When are we going to have another eclipse? So it'll be in November 3rd, was it, Joe?
November the 8th.
November the 8th. So that's when the
Morning,
next
morning,
total.
in the morning,
All right. So the
after
morning of
midnight.
November
So
the 8th is when we'll
pretty
see
much
the
it.
other total lunar eclipse.
I can't recall the time, but you'd have to set your. You might want to, maybe set your alarm and get up early to see it.
Yeah. So also, if you're wanting for other eclipses, so there is a solar eclipse in 2023, not a total one. It's what we call a. It's about 99% of the sun is covered. So it gives a cool effect. We sometimes ask the Ring of Fire. And then in 2024, we will have a total solar eclipse in April 2024. It'll basically cut through Waco, Dallas, Little Rock, Carbondale, make its way all the way up to Maine. If you can ever go check out a total solar eclipse, I highly recommend it. I got to check out the total solar eclipse back in 2017 in Carbondale. It's kind of a surreal experience. The sky's darkened, temperatures dropped, you can see sunsets all around you, which is as weird as it sounds. And when I went, I was in the park, so crickets started chirping and animals started getting ready to go to sleep. So really cool experience I really recommend. Both lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. The lunar eclipses have the advantage of being usually a lot longer, and if I'm remembering correctly, usually a bit more common, or at least a lot easier to see. Let's see what other questions are coming in. Let's see. So currently, the number of bugs have been increasing throughout the program. Instead of looking at the lunar eclipse, they are here keeping me company. Let's see. Yeah, by the way, feel free to drop any questions y'all have, either about the moon or just random space questions. So this one was already answered, but still will be a cool question for y'all to see. Of is the moon land really for sale? So no, the moon land is not for sale. So no one owns the moon, and actually kind of by lots of by lots of not contracts. You can say almost treaties and such. No country can really own parts of space. It's actually a really cool thing going on. See, so we still have a really nice view of the moon. What you can see around the moon are actually some stars in the field of view. So from Jabari, does the moon rotate anything at all? So the moon actually does rotate. It actually goes for something we call tidally locked. It's basically as it's going orbiting the Earth, it's kind of rotating at the same rate it orbits around us. So kind of we always see the same side of the moon due to that. It's a really cool effect.
So, well, I've got a picture here I just took. It shows the total eclipse of the moon along with our domes.
All right.
So
Maybe.
go ahead and see if you can share that on the screen for everyone.
Okay, yeah, it's showing up. And also a question came in about if it's possible to turn off the data info to be able to see just the image.
Got that? Have that up there?
Yeah, the view is up there.
Okay. So if you're just kind of joining us here, we see the moon totally eclipsed with the constellation Scorpius peeking over the horizon here. And two of our research telescope domes, 2.7 meter on the left, 82-inch, or 2.1 meter on the right. In fact, a little over a week ago, we had a birthday party for the 82-inch telescope, 2.1 meter, turned 83 years old. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Even had a cake for that was made into a dome. So, all right.
All right, thanks, Joe. Ooh, so a question came in. Is the moon hollow? So the moon is actually not hollow. It's a very big piece of rock that, yeah, does not have any hollow things in it. When they have crashed things into the moon, like satellites and stuff, it really isn't on purpose. It's, hey, the trajectory ended up sending it flying towards the moon. Oh yeah, and the dark side of the moon. So the moon, so the dark side, quote unquote, of the moon is more than anything just this part of the side of the moon we don't see here from Earth. It's not really dark. It's a and there are actually some really cool images of that dark side. Lots of crater impacts on it. Yep, and for those of you just joining us, we are currently looking at the total lunar eclipse here live at the McDonald Observatory. So we have a camera attached to an 80 millimeter refracting telescope. So right now that camera is connected to the computer and lets us see the moon. The exposure has also been increased to more easily see the moon itself, and the some stars are in the star field view. So basically, the stars behind the moon. Yep, and the right now we are in totality, and for Central Time, the tally began at 10:30 p.m. and will be going till about midnight. Oh, and a question from Rosa Garza: is there a planet going in front of the moon? Thankfully, not. So all the planets are way too far away from us for them to go in front of the moon. The moon is pretty far away, but not that far away, thankfully. If you ever see a planet go in front of the moon, it's usually call a scientist and maybe some other people because that is not good. That is not good news. Let's see. See, but and also for those of you just joining us, feel free to drop any questions, either like about the observatory, about the moon. Actually, cool thing that I forgot to mention about the McDonald Observatory and the moon. We did experiments with the moon. So after the NASA astronauts landed on the moon, they left behind a refractor. Basically, almost like was like a mirror, but built in such a way that when light hits it, it goes right back to the source. Next, they attached a billion-watt laser to our 107-inch telescope, shot that laser at the moon, made it hit the reflector, wait for the light to come back, and timed how long that took. And with that, they were able to measure how far away the moon was to an accuracy of about 4 inches. Nowadays, that accuracy is closer to half an inch. And these were known as the lunar laser ranging experiments. Thanks to these experiments, we found out more details about the moon, such as how far away the moon actually is, that the moon has a weird wobble to its rotation, and also the fact that the moon is actually moving away from us at a rate of about an inch and a half per year. So in 5 billion years, the moon will be so far away we will no longer have total solar eclipses. So, take advantage of the next total solar eclipse in 2024. Let's see. Ooh, a question from JDT2313. Do you guys have a tour for viewing the sun through a telescope? We do actually. We have solar viewing programs. Usually they're on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturdays. And we have a telescope here at the visitor center that can look at the sun safely. It's the telescope has special filters in front, which block out most of the sun's light, letting us look at the sun without running up the risk of damaging our eyes or any instruments, etc. And at the back of the telescopes, we have a camera attached, so we can get pictures and videos of the sun, and even access those cameras remotely to get live views of the sun if weather's cooperating. So that's usually what goes on our solar viewing programs. Though we have done some live streams in the past of solar viewing programs. So they can be found here on our YouTube channel, just here the channel McDonald Observatory. And some of our past live streams have been solar live streams. Yeah, so thank you. Oh, and for those of you that are just joining in, the telescope we are using is an 80 millimeter refractor telescope. So it's a lot smaller than one used during most of our live streams. Let's see. Oh, here's a fun one. From Jagalotis Rider. Do you guys believe there are life on other planets? So there is no evidence currently of life on other planets. We haven't found any of that yet. Me personally, though, I do think there is life on other planets. There are way too many stars, way too many planets for us to be the only one with life. If we ever made contact with life elsewhere, that's a whole different debate. So there's something known as the Fermi paradox. The paradox is there are all these stars around us, all these planets, all this chance of life. Why is it so quiet? So basically break down to like an equation of and situations like, okay, how many stars are we talking about? How many stars have the right conditions for a planet to form around them? For the planet to have life, intelligent life, civilized life, so on and so forth. As you go further down, the numbers get lower and lower and lower. Like one big thing as well, it's like, oh, we can contact another planet. But what level of technology are they at? So here on Earth, we barely made it to the moon within the past 50 years, and we've been around for over 4 billion years. A planet we're sending radio signals to might still be at our same level of technology, 1800s, maybe even their dinosaur ages. Yeah, so that's always a fun question to answer. Yeah, for those of you just joining us, our exposure time is about 1 second, about more specifically 1026 milliseconds. Let's see. Oh, so does the eclipse have any impact on the ocean and on the weather? So the moon does affect the ocean, it causes the ocean's tides, but the eclipse itself does not affect anything really here on Earth in terms of like weather and ocean and such. Just makes things a bit darker. What causes the eclipse is that the Earth is getting between the moon and the sun. So actually, I do have a little slide for that. So here the Earth's getting between the moon and the sun. So the Earth is actually blocking out the sun's light, casting a shadow on the moon itself, creating a lunar eclipse. So lunar eclipse is just, hey, it's gone to our shadow. So it won't really affect like oceans or weather or any of that sorts. Yeah, right now we also get the red color because the light from the sun is going through the atmosphere. So that gives the shadow that the moon is going through that reddish orangish tinge. And once the totality ends, you'll start losing the reddish orangish tinge.
So the eclipse is progressing nicely here.
Yeah, very nicely.
Getting some good pictures.
Yeah, do you by chance have a picture ready, Joe?
Yeah, it's pretty much this. Let me find it here. Hold on, let me look that up here. I've been snapping away while you've been answering questions. So
All right.
here's one ready. Let me if you want to, can you share my screen?
Yep. Meanwhile,
Here we
it's time for
go.
me to readjust the telescope as well.
Okay. So if you want to share my screen here,
It is.
all right. So there we have the moon, total eclipse of the moon. Scorpius again below that with the bright red star Antares, and then our research telescopes are 2.7 meter on the left, Harlan J. Smith telescope, and the 2.1 meter Otto Struve telescope on the right. There. So I mentioned this earlier for those joining us maybe late or didn't catch it. With the total eclipse, it's possible some astronomers are taking advantage of this little brief window of some dark time during a full moon. So yeah, when astronomers schedule their time on our telescopes, moonlight, of course, can affect the research that they do. So there might be some taking advantage of this what we call dark time right now. And very nice eclipse tonight. Very good weather here. And Saul's doing some adjusting on his telescope. And we're just about maybe 40 feet away from each other out here in our telescope park at McDonald Observatory. Very nice evening. You got an image here, Saul?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
So actually gonna zoom in onto the image, but I do want to show the zoomed out view because you can see a lot of the other stars are around the moon currently, which makes it look really, really cool. And the reason we can see these stars
Oh
right
yeah.
now is we have a high exposure. We have about 1 second exposure right now. So let me actually zoom in onto the moon. Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, I see some stars there. Somebody is asking about what are the names of those stars. Most stars just have numbers. Brighter stars have names, you can see with your eyes. Some of the brighter stars like Antares, Vega, just to name a few. But most stars just have numbers. But some stars too have they have Greek letters. Like the brightest star of a constellation is usually referred to as alpha, second brightest beta, gamma, and so forth. But numbers are usually the way to go on that. And I don't know what those stars are.
Yeah, I do not know either.
We'll call them Bob and Tom.
Good old Bob and Tom. Yeah, so I did see a question earlier. I can't find it anymore, but they were asking if the black hole at the center of our galaxy is causing the moon to move away from us. So the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy is very massive, but it doesn't really have that power to just pull everything into it in the way that some people are thinking, like just all falling into it. We are moving towards the center of the galaxy, but not really because of the black hole. Moon is moving further away from us, more anything can have friction between it and us. And this is actually also slowing down Earth's rotation. Barely anything. So the moon moving an inch and a half away, or at over by being over 250,000 miles away, probably even a bit more than that, and causing Earth's rotation to slow down almost nothing. But in about 5 billion years, once the moon kind of reaches that equilibrium where it will no longer move any further away, the Earth's rotation will slow down so much that one day on Earth then will be equal to about 25 Earth days now. So yeah, cool question. Oh, and does the lunar eclipse affect the dark side of the moon? It really doesn't. It's still pointing away from us. Maybe a tad darker just with it being in the shadow, but not really any big effect, you'd say. Let's see. So, also for those of you just joining us, we are live here at the McDonald Observatory. We are looking at this total lunar eclipse from our 80 millimeter refracting telescope. We have a camera attached to that telescope that I can then connect to the computer, and we can see what the camera and telescope are seeing. So the totality, the total lunar eclipse, begin about 10:30 p.m. Central Time, and will be going till about midnight. So yeah, that means it gets about 20 minutes left or so. Yep, and we're right now also answering questions, so you can drop questions in the chat either about the eclipse or the observatory or Ram's space questions, whatever you wish to have answered. Oh, hey, I see someone Jill Taylor that you're up at the 109-inch currently watching y'all. Ooh, nice. If you're here on slide, I'm just gonna wave in your general direction, and I don't know if you'll be able to see me from just the observation decks or not. I'll wave just in case. Ooh, question from Riley. What will happen if the Earth stopped spinning? So it'd be very bad. So the Earth just suddenly stopped spinning. Everyone just kind of inertia's to the thing. So as you're moving, the basically the momentum, the inertia will keep on carrying you forward. But if the Earth just stops spinning, everyone would just kind of get flung very, very far away. And very fast. Would not be a safe situation. These are other ones.
So, Saul, I was going to mention something, another thing about photographing the sky.
Yeah.
What I've been doing while you've been talking and answering questions is I try out various exposures at different lengths and also different ISO settings, and that's a term called bracketing. And then whenever we're done here and some other later, I will at home I'll use computer software and process the images. So taking pictures, through a telescope, getting the pictures is one thing, and in some cases you can spend hours or days processing a picture just to get the right details and everything. Now with wide angle pictures like what I'm doing now with the moon and everything, it won't take long. But I've got a lot of exposures here, varying exposures, and I'll play around with those and get them looking just right.
All right.
I think I had one of your I'm having some of your bugs visiting me over here too.
Well, that's nice. It's nice for them to visit other people,
Right.
spread their wings.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a moth here.
Yeah, I remember there were some questions earlier, people asking what a lunar satellite is. So there are some satellites, some orbiters around to the moon. So that might be what some people were referring to when mentioning the lunar satellites. Oh, from Jill Taylor. Up at the catwalk, you can see the dim light of my phone. Let's see. I'm going to turn off my light here, so I myself am going to get very dark. Let's see if I can see that.
Let
Oh,
me
actually,
black my
wow, I can still be
screen.
seen. Let's see.
I see something flashing there.
Yeah, I see that too, but no, but I can't tell. Is that a star or I think that's a star?
Now
No, or is it a
let
foam?
me cheat and pull out my binoculars.
We're gonna see if we can see some of the other people that are here on site.
I'm looking with binocular. Well, I don't know. I that could be a star. That might be a light.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh yeah, that definitely is a light.
it is. Yeah,
Hey, we can.
yeah. We see you definitely.
Uh,
Yeah, we can see you.
oh, that's so cool.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Jill. Yeah, another cool special guest.
So I wonder if they're taking advantage of the dark skies, doing some types of research that would require dark skies, since we're in a total eclipse.
Yeah. Let's see what other questions have come through. Yeah. Also, by the way, there's about let's see, about 7 minutes until the moon touches like the basically the margin, the edge of the totality.
The umbral margin.
Yep. Ooh, here's one maybe that you can answer, Joe. Define occultation.
It's pronounced. Yeah, it's an occultation. I believe is how it's pronounced. Yeah, that's whenever you have tonight, for instance, we had the moon appeared to pass in front of a star. So when something would pass in front of something else, it could be the moon passing it, or the moon appearing to pass in front of a star, or perhaps occasionally you might have the moon appear to pass in front of a planet, or maybe yeah. So that's basically what it is.
All right, thank you, Joe.
The stars are much, much further away than the moon. Yeah, it's starting to look, just looking at the moon here, starting to look a little bit brighter.
Yeah, even
Than
here in
it was.
the live view is starting to look a bit brighter now as
Yeah, I can
well.
just look at it with I see your live view on my screen, and looking at it here with my eyes, see how it looks in my binoculars. Yeah, we're definitely getting. Yeah, this eclipse, some eclipses are, what are called, deep eclipses where the moon passes more centrally through the Earth's shadow. This one was, or I guess still is, um, not centered on, not centered, kind of off to the edge. So that's why that can determine too the length of the eclipse of the total phase. So this is actually kind of a short lunar eclipse as far as the length of totality goes. But it's always interesting whenever it ends and it's you see the little sliver of moonlight coming back. And lunar eclipses are a lot more relaxed than say, solar eclipses. Saul mentioned he saw the solar eclipse in 2017. I did myself, and with the solar eclipse, you're constantly have to plan ahead and get your pictures right and make sure your filters are, everything's just right. With the lunar eclipse, you can take your time and enjoy it, much more leisurely.
Nice. Yeah, so also as the moon is getting brighter, I am lowering the exposure as well. So we aren't completely blinded by the moon's light. Yep, and saw some people ask, so if something did fly between us and the moon, we might, yeah, we'd be able to see it depending how close it is. Like if a plane went in front of the moon, well, plane went in front of the moon. Though we don't really get much air traffic out here.
Maybe a bird,
Yeah, maybe a bird, or better yet, this time of night, a bat.
a bat. Yeah. I think I had a bat visit me earlier.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
And I said I think I had one visit me when I was setting up.
Yep, and if there's by chance some of you are just joining us, we're here at the McDonald Observatory in far west Texas, and we are looking at the moon live. We have a camera attached to an 80 millimeter refracting telescope. So then that camera is attached to the computer, so we can basically see what the telescope and camera are seeing. Yeah. And we're kind of approaching near the end of this eclipse. Let's see. Seeing some more questions coming in. Let's see. I see a cool one, but I want to make sure I get the actual number. Yeah, from Alan Sunny D. Hey, Alan. How many lumens or lux, however it's measured, can a full moon shine in totally pitch black areas? So I'm actually looking that up right now.
Uh,
Hmm.
I'm not
I
sure about that
do
one.
not know.
I have to get back with you on that one. I don't know if any of the. Yeah.
Yeah, because this thing comes some different values scattered throughout.
I just had another one of your moths visit me, Saul.
Oh, that's okay. More of them can visit, or these other. I don't know what these type of bugs are called. They're like beetle-like almost, little brown ones.
Mothra. Mothra versus the moon.
Yeah. Ooh, now you can start seeing some of the light edge of the moon now.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're reaching the end. The end of this total solar eclipse.
Yeah, it is kind of in a way. Whenever these end, and you see the sliver of moon come back. Sometimes it's to me. Sometimes it's kind of sad,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of the bright moonlight. I can see it on your screen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we're starting to see the brightness come through.
yep,
So you can actually see it getting brighter bit by bit.
yeah. There's a little bright There, a little bit of brightness there. You're probably having to constantly adjust your exposures.
Yeah, right now I'm kind of just letting the exposure stay the same so you can actually see the brightness like
Wow, okay, yeah.
spreading across.
And my pictures I've been taking, I caught a few thin clouds that were low on the horizon. You got a bright sliver there coming back.
Ooh, that's what. Do you have the bright sliver? How does it look like on your camera, Joe?
Well, I've got a picture I took here just a minute ago. Let me try another one here. Let's do this here. Let's do a, hold on a minute. Yeah, what I'm doing, he has a live view. I'm just snapping off pictures here with my DSLR every once in a while. So we're getting a sort of a live view. So live with my eyes. Let's see how this one turned out here. Then I'll share it with you all.
All right.
That's too much. Let's change that exposure. Let's drop that down here. Let's do 10. Yeah, we're definitely getting a sliver of moon coming back. And he's doing a close-up view. I'm doing a really wide-angle view so we can see the moon along with some stars and two of our telescope domes.
Ooh, so saw a question: how many miles are we from being mountain time zone? I do not know the distance, but we are pretty close to it.
I can tell you, we're about an hour away from the mountain time zone. So roughly 60 miles, something like that, 70
Oh, cool.
miles. So let me try one more here.
Lower the exposure a bit. There we go. So with this lower exposure, you're seeing more of what we're seeing right now. Just kind of a bright sliver coming on through.
Yeah, here's a wide angle view.
All right. Is it
Moon's
ready?
over the moon's overexposed, but hold on. Yeah, but check that out there. Go ahead and share that with everyone. You can faintly see our telescope domes and Scorpius and then overexposed moon. So we're getting, yeah, it's definitely, yeah.
Nice.
So we're nearing the end here.
Yep. For those of you who happen to, for some reason, might just be joining us right now, we're live here from the McDonald Observatory out in far west Texas, and we were looking at the total eclipse. The totality of it being completely in the
Lunar
Earth's
eclipse.
shadow is ending. So now we're seeing bits of it kind of peek out more. Let me lower the exposure a bit more. So you can see the moon. It's super bright. Well, the part being illuminated is very bright. Kind of making its way across.
Yeah, for those too that didn't catch this earlier, the reason I look like a ghost is because, well, I can't. My laptop, it doesn't have a very good camera for night stuff, so I'm using I'm using an infrared camera. Yeah, I don't normally look like this. Yeah, we got a bright moon, bright sliver there.
Yep. It's slowly revealing itself. Let's see. About how long do you think it'll take for the moon to completely reveal itself?
Oh, it's going to take I don't know, an hour, half an hour or so, at least. So yeah, maybe about that.
All right. Yeah, so we're kind of basically approaching the end of our stream as well. Our stream was for the totality of the moon. Yeah, we've been going on for a good while.
We started at 10 o'clock.
Yep, we've for 2 hours.
Been going on for 2 hours. Yeah, you can see the sliver of moonlight here in your picture.
Oh, you can see a bug on my camera right now.
Okay, I wonder what that was. I thought, what are you doing to your camera, Saul?
Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to shoo that bug away. Yeah, so yeah, this is basically concludes our stream. We thank you all for joining us for seeing the total lunar eclipse. Thank you all for joining. Before we go, we do kind of, well, again, thanks to everyone that joined in, our moderators in the chat. Thanks to Joe, and
Thank
also
you.
thanks to the observatories that were partnering with us, such as Lowell Observatory.
Yeah, and also come out and see us. We do have, we are open to the public. We have public programs, star parties, guided tours, solar programs, all kinds of stuff going on here. Check our website. And we really, really strongly recommend that you make reservations because coming up into the summer months, things will book up very fast. So make your reservations and come out and see us this summer.
All right. Yep. Thank y'all for watching,
And I guess
and they enjoy the moon.
have a good night. And yes, thank you for watching us and enjoy the rest of the eclipse. Good night, everyone.
Good night.